Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome to another edition of The Culture Hack. I'm super excited because I've been wanting to get Brett on the show for such a long time, but I finally managed to convince Brett Colvin. He is one of the co-founders of Good Lawyer and the CEO. Welcome, Brett. Thanks so much for coming on.
Adam, thanks for having me. Excited to have a chat all about culture today.
Right. And I see you guys do so much fun things on LinkedIn, and I see all the fun stuff you're doing. There was like a Braveheart video I saw with some cool makeup, and I thought that was pretty awesome. But first, for anyone who hasn't heard of Good Lawyer, tell us a little bit about Good Lawyer.
For sure. So Good Lawyer is an alternative to the big national law firms, which is actually where I started my career, and noticed some of the good things, in particular when it came to sort of the specialization and the caliber of lawyers that you were working with. But I also saw a lot of bad things and a lot of pieces that I felt could be improved or were totally broken. And having spent almost 5 years working in that environment and trying my damnedest to affect change, it became clear that, the traditional big law firm model was not one that was really interested in changing. And so, I was fortunate to connect with my co-founders early on, and they bought into this crazy idea that I had of, upfront transparent fees, still with access to that top legal talent, and way better prices than you're going to get from a traditional firm that was baking in an 85% margin on what the lawyer's making. And it just was clear to me that we could do something different. We could use technology to streamline a lawyer's practice, and as a result be able to provide more cost effective and now embedded solutions with our new fractional general counsel product. So it's been a hell of a ride so far, and I think with a long-term view, we're just getting started.
Fantastic. And I can attest to this because we've used Good Lawyer for the last couple of years, and it's fantastic because we need a contract done up or some kind of legal matter, and we just reach out and we get it done, and it's very affordable, and it's really helped us. So
well, and I'll just double tap that. It's funny, there's not very many products or services that you buy that the provider doesn't tell you the price until they're done. And somehow, the world of lawyers has managed to, keep the billable hour at the forefront for, a century. And it was clear to me that, there was data, information, and, just a willingness to take on some risk as the actual service provider, the expert, and not put that whole burden onto the client, along with it, incentives to take longer. And I experienced that firsthand. There was no desire from, the partnership, from, the bosses at the firm, for me to do my job faster, because, with the traditional business model, the longer I take, the more you pay. And, at the end of the day, that helps the firm's bottom line. But, in my view, also leaves a lot of work on the table and a lot of unhappy clients, which is what, we're really on a mission to rectify.
Right. And somewhere along the line, the rest of the world just accepted the fact that lawyers were exorbitantly expensive. Right. They were like, okay,
Totally.
it costs
Yeah.
So like whatever. But that you bring up a really interesting point. You're talking about engaging your clients, and you do some amazing things with engaging your team, but engagement is kind of a buzzword right now. But what does engagement mean to you?
I think engagement, if I just used it, was in the context of hiring a lawyer, but engagement, more broadly speaking, I think is about getting people to resonate with your story and what you're doing and what you're trying to do. And, I think, we're in the business of, high quality legal services, which lend themselves to, long-term relationships and, compounding over time. But I always say to the team, and I'll say it again now, the most compound interest that I get in this business, that we get as a collective, is actually the team that we're working with, the people, the humans that we're working with every day. And, you know, using myself as an example, I am a way better CEO today than I was 4 years ago. You know, when we started Good Lawyer, when it was still, you know, more or less just an idea. And I can tell you matter of factly that that transcends all of the folks on the team. And, you know, we've been fortunate enough to keep almost everybody since we started. And you can just see sort of the skill sets changing and evolving. The hunger hasn't gone anywhere, but, you know, survive long enough to get good. And it really does feel like we're hitting, you know, a moment where everybody's leveling up. And ultimately, you can't have or experience that type of leveling up as a unit, a collective unit, unless you have a culture that people want to be a part of, and you know, have them feeling engaged every day they come to work. Because at the end of the day, you know, we couldn't do anything if it wasn't for the, you know, call it 20 people on the Good Lawyer team in supporting this network of, you know, well over 100 lawyers now across the country, and that's growing every week. But it really, at the end of the day, comes back to, you know, building a feeling within your company, and, you know, ideally on a mission that people can relate with. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about your people, and how do you get those people, you know, paddling in the same direction.
Well, I love the idea of getting people to resonate together, right? And then you grow together. And that's a powerful thing, right? When everyone feels like, you know, we're growing together, we're contributing, but we're also pushing each other out of our comfort zones. So yeah, that's pretty neat. And like you said, as a leader, as a CEO, there's a huge learning curve to creating that environment, right? And it doesn't just happen by accident. There's a lot of energy and effort put into it. So in the last 4 years, have there been any specific obstacles or challenges that you've had to overcome in terms of getting that resonance with your team?
There's been a million and one obstacles for sure. In terms of getting that resonance with the team, maybe a little bit, but honestly, I think we've had a unique kind of level of buy-in and a lot of long-standing and kind of historic relationships that played a key role in sort of building that core team. You know, given the pod is called Culture Hacks, you know, I think one of our culture hacks has been to find stickiness when it comes to the business and the people working in the business that is beyond, you know, the financial compensation or even the equity compensation. And, you know, we really, at Good Lawyer, feel like there are 3 pillars to, you know, that sort of compensation matrix, so to speak. And, you know, one of them is certainly cash. And as a startup, that's one that we're light on. You know, every person on this team could go somewhere else and make more money today. Equity is something that we are more generous than most startups and certainly most companies. And, you know, getting that long-term alignment and sharing in the eventual upside, if we can take this all the way, is really important. And then creating an environment where people can keep learning and growing, I think is, and, you know, maybe having a little fun while we're at it, but that, you know, ability or opportunity to continue developing as a person and enhancing your skill sets, I think has to be a key driver if you're a startup, in terms of who you want to attract, who you're going to be able to retain. And, you know, for the folks that really care about that kind of personal growth, they're willing to kind of go the extra mile, and also maybe accept less on the cash front than they could make if they're, you know, in a traditional law firm, as an example. And so unlocking all 3 of those pieces, to me, I think is pretty key to a startup who, you know, is most often, you know, constrained, especially on the sort of financial resources front.
Right. I like this idea of stickiness, right? It's you're inviting people to buy into an idea that hopefully will bring them wealth maybe later. But for now, to be part of something, building something, right?
100%. And more than that, I think, having a real impact. It's a big, crazy world, and it is really hard to have a really material, tangible impact on that world. And I think startups are a very unique business model that, perfectly designed to create something that never existed before. And, I think that opportunity, is sort of right alongside that financial upside, if we go IPO one day. So really, there's three pieces of the puzzle when it comes to recruiting and keeping top talent. And, we're learning every day and trying to make sure that we, put people at the forefront when we're thinking about the long-term strategy of the business.
Right. So speaking of long-term strategy, like looking forward, right? We like to talk about this like culture and stickiness, as you so eloquently put it, as a strategic part of what we're doing. And now we've got things like AI coming into the mix, and of course virtual teams and all that kind of stuff. So looking forward into the future, what do you see as the future of keeping your team engaged and excited?
I mean, that is a damn good question, Adam. I think from my perspective, it is the folks that are on the bus at the beginning, and assuming that you're able to keep and retain those folks, really are the foundation of the big business of the future. And so for me, I think it is, as CEO, for me, the number one thing I can do is make sure that we are getting the right people on the bus. And in many instances, that has meant bringing somebody in that really believed in the story, had, again, some sort of attachments to the business, whether through me or through someone else on the team, that was deeper than just getting a paycheck. And letting those sort of leaders within the business make mistakes, figure out how to be a leader. And the hope is, we've got a team of 20 now, and when we're 200, that a lot of those folks are able to step up over time to lead these growing teams within the business. And there's no way that I'm going to be able to inject the culture that I would love to see into every person. I really have to rely on those other leaders in the business to lead their teams and try to inject some of those kind of good lawyer values, ethos into the new folks that are coming on board over time.
Right. You need to propagate the story with these champions in your organization, right? People that are believe in it, have been a part of it.
Totally. 100%.
Right? And that's really cool. I love that notion, and I'm feeling very grateful to be part of your story here for this brief 10 minutes, and to see where a good lawyer goes and what great things you do and how you change the world. So really appreciate your time, and thanks so much, Brett.
I'll just sign off with this: stay alive until you get good. And if you can keep that core group together, you're going to be able to do some really special things over time, because it does take time to understand how to build something that didn't exist before. And like I said, I think a startup is the best vehicle for that, but it's gonna take longer than you ever think. And being able to compound the benefits of that learning with all of the people in that early core team, I think is the most important thing you can do as kind of a leader of a startup today.
Very well put. A perfect place to sign off. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks for having me, man. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.